Hello.
Hey, Kate. How you doing?
Hi. I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm good. You were like on time. You had the technology figured out. Like usually, like I'm sitting here, like I had music ready, like I had to fill. I was ready with
This
like.
is what you get. This is what you get.
Yay!
Together. Oh, sorry. We probably shouldn't curse.
Well,
Cut.
you know,
Cut.
it makes our marketing guy happy because he gets to bleep that out when he puts it over on YouTube. It gives him something to do.
I promise I'll be good.
That's all right. So I was doing the intro, like, welcome to Tom Rick's Chocolatier Chat here on Fridays. You are in a long list of illustrious chocolatiers. Like, you know, so we should have gotten you sooner is really what you're telling me, because you belong here. But so we talked a little bit earlier. We did a little preview, but we're going to talk a little bit about, you know, your story and like how you got into chocolate, and maybe we'll talk a little bit how you're running a business in the midst of all this craziness. And then,
oh God, Karl.
There he is in all his glory. And I found this package in the back in the dye shop. So we'll talk We'll talk a little bit about Karl and how Karl came about, and maybe we can talk a little bit how
the evolution of Karl.
How we were Tom Rick team was ready to, how we were able to help out a little bit with that project with your creative guidance. And
sounds great.
I think that's what we're going to talk about, right? And then anything else that comes up. You said
Awesome.
we're not allowed to talk about sports.
Yeah,
and
it'll just be a very one-sided conversation.
Have you watched these things? That's kind of how they denigrate too. And then I promise to speak a little more slowly today because you're from the South. And
that's right.
I don't want to like confuse you.
It takes us a little bit of time to catch up to y'all.
It gives me time to have a little.
There, perfect.
A little sip of water. For those of you who don't know, Kate Weiser and Kate Weiser Chocolatier, right?
Chocolate. Yep. Chocolate.
Dallas, Texas. And you have how many retail locations now?
Well, before COVID-19, I think we should just start everything with before COVID-19.
Right.
We had 3. We've closed down temporarily the 2 other locations. So we're just here at our downtown Dallas location, which is where we make everything, package everything, ship everything. It's kind of our flagship store. So. Yeah.
But you didn't load the furniture out of the other 2 locations, right?
We still have everything there, except for there's no chocolate on site, and it's been locked up. And sometimes I'll go visit, those little places and dust them off and make sure no one's broken in and stolen anything.
But in a perfect world, you guys are going to reopen. Those 2 other locations, right?
Yeah, that is the plan.
Cool. So. How'd you get, so you weren't doing chocolate?
Yeah, we can kind of get into the backstory a little bit. I'll try to keep it short and sweet. You have
42 more minutes.
42 more minutes. But I'm sure people would rather hear about, Karl.
And actually, I got an email, by the way. Sorry, I'm talking fast again. I got an email with a whole bunch of questions, or a text message with a whole bunch of questions for Kate Weiser.
I love it.
I'll ask a couple of them, and then I have
fantastic.
and then over here, I have my whiteboard of
perfect.
What we're going to talk about. So
yes, I see a little snowman stick figure. That's
I
perfect.
did. It was easier than
I actually grabbed visual aids as well. So I have some old evolution of. I have lots of molds that I grabbed.
Cool. Okay, so tell me, Kate. Tell me about Kate Weiser.
Yeah. Oh. Okay. Well.
It's like we're speed dating.
I know. Oh, this is so fun. The story of how I opened up my company is pretty crazy, just because, if you would have told me 7 years ago that I'd be owning a chocolate shop, I probably would have thought you were insane. And I've been open now for 6 years. So that kind of shows you how the jump was just so unexpected. Basically the reason why I'm here and why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I won a contest. That's really it.
Open a chocolate business.
That was the prize, it was like,
was it like slip your business? Was it slip your business card in like one of those bowls for the Rotary, or was it more
it felt that way. No, it was like Shark Tank, but with no cameras. So, you know, I grew up in Kansas City. I loved pastry. Never once thought about specializing in chocolate. I just really wanted to work in restaurants and I wanted to be a pastry chef. So shortly after high school, I went to California. I went to the West Coast only because I wanted to live close to a beach. You know, that was like my, you know, whole thought was like, let me go live on the West Coast. That'll be fun. And I went to just like a Le Cordon Bleu culinary school. So nothing super fancy. You know, I didn't do the associate's degree. I did the 10-month certificate.
Right.
My goal was to just like get in, get out, start working. You know, so my culinary education, especially with chocolate, was like zero. I mean, one of the courses was chocolate and sugar.
Right.
And I think we spent like 3 weeks on chocolate, and, you know, it was like not even touching the tip of the iceberg, you know? So
when is this? Like 2012?
2004, 2005.
Okay.
Yeah. So, you know, I enjoyed the chocolate class, but again, my thoughts at that time were pastry chef, restaurants, fine dining, that sort of thing. So after I graduated in 2006, I moved back to Kansas City. I worked as a pastry chef in kind of a small restaurant in a college town. You know, I wanted to be close to my friends, and then they would go off to college and I would go off to work, and it just seemed like the perfect scenario for a 20-year-old, you know, 19, 20-year-old. So yeah, so that situation.
So you didn't get to spend a lot of time at the beach.
No. And I was in San Francisco too, so it was chillier than I expected.
Yeah. You might have wanted to maybe San Diego next time when you decide you're gonna have the life change.
Yeah. So I really didn't spend that much time in San Francisco. I was there for a year. And, you know, I think if I could go back, I would definitely have stayed there and worked, because it's like food mecca and there was so much going on. But at the time I was homesick. And so I came back to Kansas City and worked in restaurants until I moved to Dallas. Right. And then I moved to Dallas in 2009, worked in restaurants, and had trouble finding a gig. You know, it was a bad time for pastry chefs.
But how'd you end up in Dallas?
A boy. Yeah. So I got married.
Boys.
Terrible idea. And yeah, we started our life in Dallas, and he had moved from Kansas City to Dallas for a job. So he was building his career here. And then I joined him a year later, and we ended up getting married. And really it was, you know, as far as options go, I was just kind of taking on any job that I could find. So it was a lot of part-time gigs.
Making tortillas.
Yeah, just like whatever. I sold cheese. You know, I worked for a cheese shop. One of my gigs. Like, I basically just hustled until I could find somebody that I connected with. And one of like 4 part-time jobs that I had was this kind of smaller chocolate company here in Dallas. And, you know, I went in there and I was just really interested in the idea of working for a small business. You know, it seemed like an interesting new experience. And the owner of this chocolate company, you know, she's a lawyer, but she would hire a chef to make the chocolates for the chocolate company. And she had just lost her only chocolatier. She only had one person making chocolate, and she just lost that person. And so, you know,
I can do that.
Well, I didn't.
I'm excellent at chocolate. I'm very good at chocolate. I've made all the chocolate I've ever made.
That's not at all what I told her. I was like, I'm a pastry chef, sort of, like, for the past 5 years, and I don't know anything about making chocolate. And she's like, great, sounds good. Why don't you come, like, figure it out while you're here? And so I was like, all right. So it just ended up being this, you know, scenario where I was just like by myself in this kitchen, not knowing anything about chocolate.
You know what's funny though, Kate, is like Kansas City has become like one of those places with all this like great chocolate, right? I mean, there's some really great people doing chocolate.
Oh my God. The fact that I never worked for Christopher Elbow while I was in Kansas City is like the biggest career regret of my life. But it's like, at that time, I had no idea that I loved chocolate.
Right.
You know, so, but
well, that's like me. I got offered, right out of school, I got offered a job at the Inn at Little Washington. right? Which is like the only like 3-star Michelin property in Virginia, and I turned them down. Like, oh yeah, that's a good decision. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure, okay, sure. What the heck?
It's like,
I don't need that job. I'll go work somewhere else.
I know. It's like if you could go back. I mean, hindsight's always 2020. If I could go back and work for Elbow, I would be so much better off than I am now.
I don't think he'll let you stage now. Like, I don't think he'll like,
no.
hey, Chris, like Chris and hey, Chris, I got this woman. She really wants to spend a couple of weeks with you. I don't think you've ever heard of her though. So just put her washing dishes for the first couple of weeks. She'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. No, he's a dear friend now, and I actually just toured his facility not too long ago. He let me in, and
did he show you the cooler?
Like, oh my
Did he show you the cooler off his workspace?
Yeah, but he was so like nonchalant about it. He was like, "Oh yeah, that's my walk-in." I was like, "Cool, you got your own walk-in. That's awesome." Took us on a whole 2-hour tour before we went back to the walk-in. When he opened it, and I was just like mouth dropped, tiki bar.
So he spent some time with us a couple weeks ago, right? And he does kind of the same deal, right? So he's like showing us around. He's like, "This is my training lab, and this is this," and like. So I'm like, cool. And you have a walk-in. He goes, yeah, put a walk-in in. And then like the conversation goes somewhere else, right? And like we get talking about rum for some reason. And so I like pull out a bottle of rum and like he's like, all right, I'll show you the cooler. I'm like, you don't need to show me the cooler. You're good.
He's like, you're gonna want to see this.
I'm like, I've seen a walk-in cooler before. He's like, trust me. I'm like, all right, man, whatever. So he like pops the door up and I'm like, holy crap, Batman.
I mean, you got to be there, though. You got to experience it. There's Cuban music playing on the speakers. Like, there's fake plants to make you feel like you've just walked into this, like, Caribbean, Cuban, you know.
Yeah, we don't have one of those in my innovation center.
No.
Like, we don't have one up here.
Well, I took video of it. I came back, I showed my staff. And the whole reason why we went and toured it was because we were trying to get our own production facility up and running. And my team was like, we should have a meditation room. We should have a game room. Like, they were all just like coming up with these ideas.
Well, that's like his break room. Like, his employee break room is like the nicest employee break room, nicer than anywhere I've ever worked.
Oh my God.
Some big companies. I'm like, what's up with that? Like,
I love it. I think it's so just great of him to just prioritize that, you know, for himself and enjoy his passion, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't gotten there, but I think that's like, so Coco Hunter, who we were talking about before, who we both know, Mr. Case, is saying you need a margarita room because you're in Texas.
Sure, margaritas, love it.
You know, I think though he understands that the difference between him being successful and not being successful are his people, right? And we had a whole conversation about, you know, what's going on now, like you were going to get to in a minute, and he knows that it's about the people that work for him, and if without the people that work for him or you or me, you know. We spend a lot of time training people and coaching them and getting them ready to be able to do things without us.
Right.
And they could have two choices at that point, right? Then they can go open their own chocolate business, right? Which makes us cringe or makes you cringe. It doesn't make me cringe, you know, because I don't have a chocolate business, or we have to give them reasons to want to stay with us and show them how much we appreciate them. And I think Chris does a really super job of that, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I mean, I think the rum room is his. Don't get me wrong. I don't think that's about his employees, but
I'm sure they have meetings in there though. You know, they probably
right. I mean, I'm sure they're you know, Fridays at 4:30 is a different conversation, but I mean, that break room and the outdoor patio and the things that he's built into his space are about people, you know. And I think so. Anyway, I cut you off, and we ended up talking about Chris Elbow. But so you're making chocolate all by yourself in this big space.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about chocolate.
Zero, nothing. I mean, I knew how to temper. That was literally it. So I didn't know how to formulate a recipe. I didn't know how to. I hadn't even heard the word moisture migration until like 4 years ago. Like, that's, you know, there's a lot of things that I don't know, and I was very much aware of those things, and so I would just try new techniques. And it's interesting because as I've grown as a chocolatier and I've educated myself by going to courses and classes and traveling and talking to those chocolatiers, I look back on the times when I was making chocolate with no clue, and just now realizing how little I knew about what I was doing and how much trial and error, you know, I relied on. So I spent 4 years with that company, and I started understanding the techniques and how to make molded pieces. But I didn't understand the science behind why it was working. So if someone would ask me, well, why do we do it this way? My response would be, because I've tried it 10 other ways and it didn't work. It was never, full of the knowledge that I have gained since then. So, that was always a challenge, was, I was literally trying any which way to create a bonbon or, create a truffle. And
yeah, I mean, there's good and bad about that, right? I mean,
yeah.
I think my story is similar in a lot of ways. Like, I had a restaurant career and went back to culinary school, went to a certificate program outside of DC. And, chocolate was, for giggles, I'll show you the showpiece I built, like the chocolate showpiece. And it's literally, this big, and it's got like 4 pieces of chocolate and a bunny.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, yay for me. And I think, so I came to chocolate sort of some, like, from a pastry background, right? And like, I could do that. How hard is chocolate, right? And it kicked my rear end for a long time. And I think over the years, like, I've had the opportunity to be on plantation in 6 different countries, and like, I've been in 50 different chocolate plants, and I've been in hundreds of confectioners, and like, picking up knowledge along the way.
Yeah.
I mean, there's something really valuable about that, rather than like, I've read a book on chocolate making, which, I've read all the books now too.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, and that's what I would do too. I would get all the books, I would talk to chocolatiers and pick things up along the way. And yeah, I mean, that's how I learned.
Right. I had a boss. So I worked at Albertooster Imports for a while, and I worked with Anil Rohira, right?
Yeah.
And Anil, how are you with chocolate? Oh, I'm okay. I'm like, well, you got to be great. I'm like, okay. And, and so we did a lot of that. But he had an expression that was, never be afraid of the bin, right? And like, if you're not afraid of the trash can, the bin, right? He was Indian, or he is Indian. He wasn't, he still is. But in fact, he lives there now.
He's still with us.
Yeah, he's still with us. He's not, if you're not afraid of the trash can, and you have the time and you have the resources, sometimes learning that way is more valuable, right? Like, if you've got somebody that's willing to support you throwing out 8 recipes in a row because they're garbage. I mean, that's where they belong. Like, sorry. Like, there were a lot of things along the way that were crap.
Yeah. I mean, when I first started experimenting with airbrushing, not understanding anything about tempering the cocoa butter or, the temperature of the chocolate going in. And, I would have 60% trash out of my yield. I mean, and that was on somebody else's dime, like the person I was working for. And fortunately for me, she was very like, just keep trying and keep at it and practice, and, you'll be better. So that was a very lucky situation. I could have gotten fired in like 10 seconds.
You and me both, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Hey, the 50 of you watching from home, don't tell anybody that we both deserve to be fired at the beginning.
Yeah. Just cut me off for sure.
So you're learning. So you spent a couple years like really learning your craft and really honing, like, figuring out recipes that worked just because they worked.
Just because they worked, and then altering them a little bit to see how I could turn them into something new, but that also worked, So that was basically how I was kind of living my life, was just, okay, this worked, let's do that again, but now let's try this new way and see if that works. And then if that doesn't work, we'll try this other way. I mean, it was just a lot of that. But in the meantime, I was also very involved in kind of the business aspect of it. Like, I was, organizing events and,
not doing
really
costing.
Not
clearly
doing costing.
Because you would have been out the door.
No.
But
Yeah, no. Well, there was not a lot of costing going on. But it was,
food cost.
Yeah. Who cares, right? But it was such a great learning experience. And it really did start, it really got the entrepreneur bug in me, because I loved every part of it, not just making the chocolate. I loved figuring out production. I loved figuring out, just everything that goes into running a small business. It was really, really fun.
Cool.
Yeah. Really fun. So
how long were you with this unnamed benefactor?
About 4 years. And then I heard about the Trinity Groves incubator project, which, is kind of where the Shark Tank aspect comes in.
Is that like a Dallas thing? Is it like a big,
yes.
like...
I mean, it was a big thing. It's been open now. It's where my flagship store is, but what it is it's an incubator project. So it was a landing page website that said, hey, we're opening 20 restaurants. If you have an idea or a concept, email us. We'll set up a meeting. Bring your food. We're looking for unknown chefs, and
at markcuban.com, or was it,
pretty much. I mean, it was Phil Romano, who, I knew just from like Romano's Macaroni Grill.
Right. Which
yeah.
is Brinker. So I worked for a company for a while that was part of the Brinker, like that. So they were all Brinker guys. They all knew Phil Romano from back in the day. I worked for Tia's Tex-Mex, by the way, too.
Oh, really?
Which I don't think they're around anymore, but they were a big Dallas
I've heard
company.
of it. Yeah,
yeah, they were a big like Dallas company for a while, and like Grapevine.
Oh yeah.
I should be able to name all the Dallas cities, and I can't. But
it's okay.
So it was a big. I mean, Phil Romano obviously is a pillar of the restaurant industry in America. Even if you don't know who he is, I mean, he's the real deal.
Yeah, he's the real deal, and he spent a lot of money buying up a lot of land in West Dallas, west of downtown, and I think everybody kind of thought he was crazy for doing so because it was all gas stations and truck yards, and there's nothing down in this area. But his vision was to open up this big restaurant row and to have people come across the new Margaret Hunt Hill Bridge, which was like this huge project going on in Dallas. So anyway, I found, I saw the landing page, and I'd already been having this bug of like, God, it'd be so fun someday to own a business and to be my own boss, and like someday do this and someday do that. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to email them and just see what happens. And, I didn't expect anything to come about. I didn't even expect them to return my email. But as it turns out, they returned my email. They said, great, you've got chocolate. Great. We'd love to hear, we'd love to see what you got. So we set up a meeting, and I was making chocolate in my apartment, and I was just like, what chocolate do I want to make? You're asking yourself that for the kind of the first time. Because when you work for someone else, you're making whatever they want. So now it's just like, oh my God, what do I want to make? And so I put together a box, and I went to this meeting, and Phil Romano was in the meeting. I had no idea he would be there. I thought it was like a pre-meeting meeting where they'd weed out all the people that, totally wouldn't work. No, he was there. There was like 12 people there. And I gave him a box of chocolates, and I just started talking about how much I love chocolate. And about an hour later, they were offering me, $500,000 of starting capital and a partnership. And it was very intimidating.
Like, did you have to give, was it Shark Tank? Like, did you have to give an answer right then? Like, hold on, let me go out of the room and call my husband.
No, I mean, I told them I would think about, I said, awesome, great, thank you. Like, let me digest this. Let me go home. And I actually, at that point, I got a lawyer. And,
not your owner, not the owner of the company you worked for at the time, because that would have been bad juju.
Correct. I quit that job pretty quickly after that. But I took about 6 months to really think about it, because the way the partnership was set up, I mean, you're using their money. It's not my money. I'm not out a single dime. It's my idea. That's it. But the way the partnership was set up is, if your business failed, you're no worse off than you are before. You walk away, you have no debt, you have nothing, hindering you from just going and getting another job and just starting over on a Monday. And as a 27-year-old with no business experience and hardly any chocolate experience, that deal sounded great. On the flip side of the coin, if the business happened to be a success, then I would be probably getting the shorter end of the stick, because we're using all their money. Right. So it was definitely a risk that I at the time felt comfortable with. And it's not like I thought I was going to fail or I thought I was going to succeed. My entire mentality was, well, let's just give this a try. Let's give this a shot. Because if I don't try, I'll probably regret it.
So you said yes.
So I said yes.
Spoiler alert, she says yes. Right.
Spoiler. Yeah. And, I protected my name, so I own the trademark for that, which was important to me. And I signed on the dotted line, and then at that point I had a year to basically, you know, be unemployed and working on this concept. So I spent the next year educating myself as much as possible. I was like, crap, I've got 1 year to learn how to make really good chocolate.
To get the MBA in chocolate.
Right. So, you know, I did a lot. I went to a lot of Valrhona demos. I, you know, met with a lot of people and practiced and came up with my recipes and developed my flavors. And then that, you know, then we opened up and it's just been a whirlwind ever since.
Right. So, I mean, obviously you guys do all sorts of stuff. I mean, you do caramels and you do praline and you do molded goods and you do some barks and stuff and you kind of but you make everything yourself.
Yep. Well, no, not everything. So we don't have a panner. So we purchase panned items.
We can solve that problem. Okay, we can solve that problem.
I know. I want to. Believe me, I want to.
Chris Elbow has one.
I know. It's super
He has to sell me one too. So
I know. So yeah, so you know, my challenge was I had $500,000 as a budget, and that included equipment costs, construction costs, packaging, starting capital to hire people. It included everything. So, you know, that money really was spent up really quickly. So I had to be very strategic in, you know, my products and what I wanted to purchase, because I was good at pretty much one thing, which was hand painted molded bonbons. And so I was like, okay, well, let's focus on that. You know, I'm not going to buy an enrober. I've never enrobed anything before, you know, didn't make sense. So I'm not going to buy a panner. I don't even know how to pan. So I had 400 square feet of kitchen space that I had to work with. So yeah, it was a real kind of puzzle to figure out what equipment to get and all that stuff.
Hey, because somebody asked the question. So like this deal, and like anything that you don't want to answer, by the way, you're cool not answering questions with me. Because like there's questions up here that you're not going to want to answer. I can tell you right now.
Okay. Should I be nervous?
No, but I mean, so like this deal, like, was there a growth portion of it? Was there like, hey, we're going to go beyond Trinity Groves? You talked about being in 3 locations now. Mm-hmm. Like, are they part of your story still? I mean,
yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at right now is, okay, we have proof of concept. You know, the concept works. We're not going to be an incubator forever. So what's our strategy here? You know, what's our exit strategy, or how do we move forward in another version of a partnership? You know, that's kind of where we are at now.
Got it. So you could move to San Diego. So you could open that place at the beach in San Diego and still be Kate Weiser chocolate. Yeah,
I mean, that's the beauty of me owning the Kate Weiser chocolate trademark. You know, technically I could, but the thing is, you know, I kind of hit the partner lottery a little bit, and I was really nervous about how this partnership would go because, you know, I'm a young woman and I've got these 2 sharks that are my partners. I was worried about, would my voice get lost? You know, would this become something that I didn't intend it to be? And the reality is that, you know, they're very hands-off. As long as I'm turning a profit, they're very happy. And they basically, you know, say, okay, what do you want to do next? And I say, here's my idea. And then we figure it out together. So, you know, it's been a great partnership, but it is interesting as to, you know, how does the incubator go from an incubator to a mid-sized business? And then what does that look like? And do we take on more investors? And then what does that look like? You know, it's very interesting. I'm learning a lot about business. So it's really fun.
And I'm going to steer the conversation somewhere. So we didn't know each other.
Correct.
Like till, I don't know, 2 years ago. I'm trying to think.
That sounds right.
And I got a text message from one of us sales guys here at work that like that Kate Weiser girl is trying to figure out. Yeah, Sean.
Yeah.
He didn't call you a girl, but well, at least on the text message. You know, so you know that they do this snowman thing, and they're trying to figure out how to make more of them. And I said, all right, I'll talk to her. Whatever. Sure. What do you want me to sell him, Sean? What do you want me to sell her? You know, but and so we ended up that's when we met for the first time, right? We walked through some of the you created Karl 1 year for a sort of a fun little project.
In my first year,
And he kind of.
By the way, I have to say hi, Chris Kohler. I miss you.
Yeah, there's some other people that have been like bopping into that. Like, what does yes party people mean?
Chris Kohler's my buddy. We went to Ecuador together.
Thanks for bringing that up, and I bring it up every week. But I was supposed to be in Ecuador 2 weeks ago. Stupid COVID.
Oh, that
So
sucks.
no, but I mean, I get it, and like I'm
There'll
pretty
be
good
more,
friends.
There'll be more
yeah.
chances, yeah.
And the ticket's in my name, so like they can't do anything
There you
else
go.
with it. So Valrona can't give it to somebody else. But
You're gonna love it. You're gonna die. You're gonna love it. It's gonna be great.
I have not been to Ecuador. I've been to like 5 other places.
Okay, so you kind of know the drill. You know.
Yeah. So anyway, so you now that is probably Eric Case asking who else was with you. So was Eric on that trip?
Eric Case was there. Christopher Elba was there. Angela from John and Kira's was there.
Was Bill from William Dean on that trip, or was he on the next trip?
No, he wasn't. We had a great group. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I can't. That's the trip I need to get on. I need to go on that trip, not the trip I'm going on, right? But no, I'm sure the people I go with will be fun. So you create Karl.
Yes.
And he's like this huge success.
Yeah, I mean.
Like, crap! Now we got to make 1,000 of these things. We were hoping to make 50 of them.
Right. Then that's exactly what happened. Yeah.
And
we were hoping to make like 100.
A major retailer came along. A major Dallas retailer, right? That's,
yeah.
I don't know what I can tell the story, but
yeah,
I mean,
Neiman
Marcus calls and they're like, "Hey, we want 10,000."
I think their first number. So we made Karl in year 1. Neiman Marcus called us in year 4.
Right.
Okay, so we had 3 good years of Karl under our belt. We knew how to do it in a way that was not efficient, but got the job done. And we only needed to make 5,000, so it was no big deal. And then Neiman's calls and they say, okay. And I think it was June. So we had a lot of time, not a lot, but we had some time. And they're like, yeah, we want like 25,000. And so I'm thinking like,
if we start right now and we make 10 a day, we could have those in 2087 for you.
And if we have like a rotating crew of 24-hour Karl, the way we were making the snowman was not going to be feasible.
Right. And that's what we talked about, right? So we talked about like going to spinning molds and spinners and like all that stuff. And you did this not inexpensive project with a company called Hans Brunner, where I would like to have been on that meeting with Shark Tank about, so I need to spend a lot of money.
I know. And
like pushing on like 10% of the total budget for the store.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right?
No, we spent on the molds alone, I think it was like $22,000.
I was going to say 25.
And again, this is my partners continually providing this working capital. So, I'm constantly going to my partners like, I just need another 25K for a snowman. And they're like, yes, let's do it. Like
was that before or after you were on Oprah? Was that after Oprah?
So Neiman Marcus and Oprah happened the same year.
Oh, okay, cool, sure.
Yeah.
Neiman Marcus.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're good.
So Neiman Marcus wanted 25,000 and then Oprah wanted like another 15,000
but both of those people called you. I mean, you don't have some marketing salesperson out calling those guys saying, hey, I want to do 25,000 snowmen for you. Hey, I want to do.
It was kind of a snowball effect. So Neiman Marcus, we signed up with them. They took Karl to some kind of press conference and O Magazine was there. So Neiman Marcus was really why we got the Oprah deal. Yeah. But basically we had 2 months to figure out how to ×6 our production of a very delicate handmade little creature.
Right. Which was kind of our conversation. And I no disrespect, not picking on you at all. Like I was using like fancy molding terms and all this stuff, and you kind of like a little bit of the deer in the headlights, like like you trusted us, like totally. You're like, this better work. It's like, oh, of course it's gonna work.
Yeah, and it's interesting.
Which is good thing we weren't on Zoom. Like if it was now, you would have seen like kind of like, I don't know, in my face. But I mean, we knew it would work.
But that's how we all were. I mean, we were all just like, shooting in the dark a little bit. And, the way that we made the molds with you guys and with the Hans Brunner people, it didn't even end up working out to be the way that we use the molds now. So it's like a
because you came, I can't remember when you were here. Were you in the new space when you came up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gorgeous. Yeah.
Right. So you came up and, it's like, okay, this isn't working the way we talked about. How are we going to, what can we change and what can we do a little differently?
Yeah.
And you and I went through, and your assistant at the time, right? And
Liz, who left me in January.
I know. She's in DC.
Yeah, she's back home. But that's good because she's with her family now. So she's happy.
Working in a restaurant.
Yeah.
And which is sad because when she was here, I tried to poach her from you then and tried to get her to work for me.
Yeah,
and
that
she
was
told me
real
it's too
nice.
cold. Too cold.
Too cold.
And yes, Hans Brunner does make excellent molds, and they made an excellent mold here. But, you came up and, we had to play with it again to really figure out how to the videos you showed were crazy with drill presses and jigs and
Yeah, we were going to, Ace Hardware and just trying to figure out how to MacGyver, this thing. So. Right.
But I assume you had a pretty good year with Karl.
The whole Oprah
I couldn't
thing,
remember his name. I couldn't remember Karl's name.
I can't get his name out of my head. I have dreams, nightmares about Karl.
And this was first year package. This is pre-revamped Karl, right?
Yeah. So that was actually the first year's shipping packaging. Right. Because we had to put him into that in order to ship him safely.
Right. And so we did the molds the first time. We did them at Tomric.
Yeah.
So they were this. They were all done like that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So we were shelling half of Karl's body.
Hold on, Kate, 1 second. So Tom Bowerwaits, who's a good friend, keeps pumping up. So I got to say, all right, Tom, good night. He's in Europe. Good night. Good night in Belgium. I don't speak French, so. Les bon temps brûlés.
Ooh.
So, I think that's
Sounded
a good times roll, though. So I don't know if that's what you want to say to somebody putting their 6-year-old to bed. But so you guys were. You were using a relatively inexpensive mold.
Yep.
It was custom.
Yep. Before that, we were just using a sphere mold for the body and then a sphere mold for the head. So it's this was such an improvement already from what we were doing.
And then you went to spinners and
then we went to spinners, yeah.
So
and the spinners we could make 8 at a time. So.
Yeah, so it's a great question. Where do you store 20,000 Karls?
Oh my God! So
your garage at home.
We were tripping over them. No, Trinity Groves, is owned by my business partners. So my business partners also happen to be my landlord, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So they had a closed down restaurant and they said, just put Karl into this, closed down restaurant. Yeah. So we packed him up in boxes and we took over 2,000 square feet, floor to ceiling of this closed down restaurant that was 3 doors down. So that's where we put the army.
That's 1,000 Karls per square foot.
It's crazy. He takes up so much space. Yeah, he does.
So
takes up a lot of space.
So was this the first real year of Neiman Marcus or no? This was.
Yeah, that was the first real year of Neiman Marcus, and it was also Oprah.
So you were busy.
It was the most insane experience of my life. The Oprah effect. You just can't prepare for that. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. We'd go from, we were shipping, we have an e-commerce site before it was it wasn't great. It wasn't doing very well. It was 15% of my business was e-commerce. So we're shipping out 50 packages a day. We understand how to do that. And then Oprah hits and all of a sudden we have to ship out 1,000 packages a day. And it's just all new territory.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, what have you seen with what's going on in the world? Did your internet business grow?
So you're talking about right now with COVID?
Easter and Mother's Day. What happened with Easter and Mother's Day?
Yeah. So the first positive thing we saw was that our online business went up just astronomically. People are sitting at home, they're ordering online. We were able to actually focus on improving our website in ways that before I just had never prioritized, or I just felt like I didn't have time to really sit and prioritize. So, that's a good positive part of this whole thing, is that we've made, improvements to our infrastructure that can last beyond when this is all over. And but yeah, so our business went up online for sure. Our in-store business, obviously, we were on lockdown. So that went.
But were you doing deliveries to the car? Were you doing any of that stuff? Or...
Yes. Yeah. So I had.
Let me get that for you, man. Did you get roller skates? Like I just see you kind of like skating around.
I was on my little moped, like
one of those like hoverboards that the kids are all using these days.
Yeah, well, we had made all these amazing Easter products that you couldn't ship. You know, a lot of my stuff is too fragile to ship.
Right.
And so I was like, how are we going to sell these bunnies and these eggs and stuff? So anyway, I ended up setting up delivery on my website so people could actually, if you're in a certain zip code, you could get it hand delivered. And I was like, great. Okay, now I got to deliver 20 packages and I don't have any drivers or anything.
Right.
So.
I called you to set this interview up, like the week before Mother's Day?
Yeah,
and
I was like,
just not Mother's Day week. No,
bro,
like, first of all, I can't talk to you.
in the car delivering chocolate.
I can't talk to you, and I have to make deliveries.
Yes.
Like, you could you could if the chocolate thing doesn't work out, you could do Uber Eats.
Yeah, I mean that's the
whole thing down.
Like you got to be multifaceted. You know, you got to be able to do it all. But no, there's no job that's too low for me. I will do whatever it takes. So I loaded up my Mini Cooper and drove all around Dallas for Easter. I mean, every day I was doing it. It's pretty crazy.
You can see my little drive. I was doing the steering wheel thing. Sorry, it was below the camera.
And then for Mother's Day, I was like, okay, we're not going to make anything that cannot ship because this can't be my new life. So we mostly did shipping, but I still had deliveries that week. It was a great Mother's Day. I think we did more in sales on Mother's Day this year than we've ever done. So
yeah, I've heard that from a couple of people. I was on a Zoom call with the Retail Confectioners International the other day. And yeah, I mean, everybody's down. Like, I don't want to be a Pollyanna about it. I mean, I think the people that have a more proactive internet presence and are able to take orders that way definitely had better years than the people that didn't.
Yeah.
But people talked about that their Mother's Day was up. Like in general, like people, especially as a gift giving opportunity because you weren't spending time. I think it's because you weren't spending time with your mother. You were looking for ways to support them.
You're not going out to brunch. Yeah, you're not getting flowers. Yeah.
And somebody was talking about this really cool idea. They created this whole like door hanging thing, right? So it literally hangs on the door, and you could fill it with chocolate, so that even from a delivery standpoint, you could buy it and then take it over and hang it on the door, and then take 3 steps away, and it wasn't on the ground, and it was kind of a cool idea. I know. Yeah. I'm like trying to think of like packaging and things that would fit in that. So, so that's kind of the story. That's Karl. Like, what's new with you? Like, what's going on in your life?
Well, I'm trying to get married again.
That's what I was looking for. You did you're not married to the other one, the other husband anymore. That's like done.
That one, yeah. It's interesting because it's like when I first opened this business was really my 100% focus, to the detriment of my own personal life. I think, priorities were kind of skewed, but now that I have this incredible team, I'm able to take a step back and really evaluate, get some kind of work-life balance going. So life has definitely improved. And I have my team to thank for that, but yeah, I've been happily engaged for a very long time now, and we were supposed to get married next month, but looks like we'll be pushing that back. But
okay, because I hadn't got my invitation yet, so I was confused.
Yeah, we have no idea, like when, at what point this is all going to be safe again, and we're living together, we're very happy, so it is what it is.
Got it. So how many people, like right now, you're still working, obviously. How many people do you have working in the kitchen right now?
Well, so I have one person in the kitchen. The first month, it was just me, and, we had some leftover chocolate in the freezers. Right. So we were basically just selling off our inventory.
Right. How many do you normally have, though?
I normally have company-wide, I have like 35 people. In the kitchen, I normally have 5. Got it. Yeah, it's a small kitchen, so we can't really fit any more than that. Right. But so now I'm, my sous chef is back. I brought her back 2 weeks ago. Cool. I mean, just loving having her back. It's really incredible. Got it.
All right, because I have some questions on this text message.
Okay.
And I'll answer the first one. Are you all Valrhona all the time, or Republica?
So I use Valrhona for all my ganaches. For all my fillings, I'm strictly Valrhona. That is true. I do use Republica de Cacao for my shells. But when it comes to Karl, you know, we just couldn't get the costs low enough.
So there was a different chocolate there.
There's a different chocolate there. We use the Belgium chocolate. And then I think that's really it. Yeah.
All right.
So still mostly Valrhona Republica.
What's the favorite piece of yours that you make?
Like favorite of anything I make? Like what do I eat?
What's your favorite? Yeah. In the Kate Weiser chocolate world, what's your favorite piece?
The passion fruit bonbon.
Got it.
I can't stay away from those. I'll snack on those all day for sure.
Got it. Gotcha. So the Brian question though is so you're coming home from work late, you've made like deliveries all day, it's 11 o'clock at night, you pull into the 7-Eleven for a Diet Coke, Diet Pepsi, I don't know, I don't know, and you grab a candy.
Dr. Pepper.
Peanuts or no peanuts in the bottle? Isn't that like the Texas thing? Like Texas relatives used to always put peanuts in the bottom of their Dr. Peppers.
What? I've never heard that.
Salted peanuts. I would tell you to ask your mom, but she's from Kansas City.
I know.
So ask Romano. He'll know.
I will.
So,
okay.
So you come back from the cooler, you're headed to the register, and you're in the candy bar aisle.
I've got it.
What candy bar?
Instantaneously, York Peppermint Patty. I know it's not a candy bar, but that is my thing. I always have York Peppermint Patties in my fridge at home because it's like buy 2, get 1 free. And I'm like, well, that means
that's because nobody buys them. 5. That's because nobody buys peppermint. They have to be on sale like that.
They're so good cold with like a full glass of milk.
So somebody recently, who was I talking to, was like, I'm a Junior Mint guy, but I'm not Junior Mints if they're cold. They've got to be warm. And it was like this whole like thing.
So true. Junior Mints have to be warm. Peppermint patties have to be cold.
It's about the fondant. It's about it's how high they cook the fondant.
Yes. And when you bite into a stale Junior Mint, did you know that is because it has not sat for long enough? It's actually too fresh.
Right, because if the sugar has not inverted.
Has not broken it down.
Got it.
Fascinating.
So you're still in your 1,000 square foot shop because you're sitting in it right now.
I am. I'm not even kidding you, Brian. I was 3 days away from signing the lease to a 17,000 square foot facility when lockdown happened. 3 days away. And then the guy came at me. He's like,
it's better than 3 days after.
Oh my God, I know. He was like, do you want to sign this? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, I think that this is a terrible time to have to give you, a deposit when I can't even pay my staff. So,
right. All right. Do you clean your molds?
Yes, but
how?
Okay. So this is
and we've got like
ultimate...
we only have like 5 minutes. So like we're banging some questions.
Okay. So yes, I do. However, there's always one point during Christmas when we're so busy that we cannot clean, wash, sanitize, polish, and
so you polish too.
So we'll just reuse. But
you're on the polish team.
We're on the polish team, and I would love to not be.
See, if you'd worked for Christopher Elbow for a little while, you wouldn't be on the polish team.
But here's the thing about him. He has enough molds to where a blue chocolate and a blue mold is always going to be a blue mold and a blue chocolate. Like for us, we don't have that many molds. So we can't really reuse a red chocolate into a white chocolate. There's always residual, cocoa butter. So I think if we had the right number of molds and we also maybe had like a one shot or something that kept the molds really clean.
We could solve all those problems for you.
I know.
Like we have the one shot solution. We have molds. We could when you get into that 17,000 square feet, we can definitely help with that stuff. And you can come back.
That's why I came. Yeah, that's why I came because we had that whole plan. But
so there was a question about online chocolatier classing. Anywhere that you would recommend? Anywhere like.
Online chocolatier classing. I think
it's all going to change. I'll tell you what, that's all going to change here in the next couple of months. We have a full slate of classes that we've had to cancel, and we're trying to figure out how to provide education.
Yeah.
So I think that window is going to be wide open.
Yep.
At the end of the year, like people are going to be trying to figure that out. So I'd keep looking on the internet for that.
Yeah, for sure. And there's so many people, chocolatiers now doing Instagram lives just like this, where you talk shop and you can learn so much just by, I've been watching all of these and loving it. Yeah.
I got my first set of notes today from a customer explaining how I could have done a little better on my demo. And I took it a little personally.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you. I was like, whoa. And then I'm like, okay.
But
my wife kind of talked me. My wife talked me off
now you
the
have a
ledge.
responsibility, Brian. You've got an audience. You got to keep
Great.
them entertained. You got to keep it.
Yeah,
going.
I don't even know what I'm doing on Tuesday yet. We're still trying to figure out Tuesday.
Oh boy.
So, what's the tool in your kitchen you can't live without? That's my question. I had a couple of people. Hey, Brad's here.
Oh my gosh, a blowtorch. I can't live without a blowtorch.
Yeah, I know. My assistant still, when I'm cleaning up the marble at the end of the day, I pull it out. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, this is so much faster.
Yeah. Blowtorch
so much faster.
Obviously heat guns. You can't, seal your chocolate without a heat gun.
I do.
You do without a heat gun.
I do not reheat.
Interesting.
But we could have a whole conversation about angles and stuff another time. So, we should know your Instagram page because a lot of people came in through there, but it's
Kate Weiser Chocolate. Easy.
That's your Instagram page. You can purchase a whole sorts of stuff on your website, KateWeiserChocolate.com.
Easy.
Our Facebook page is Tomrick Systems. 2,000 fans today. We got our 2,000th like today on Instagram. We were very happy. It means that our marketing guy has to shave his beard. He was going to keep it through the whole quarantine, but he changed it to the 2,000 like on Instagram beard, and so it's Monday morning on the 9:30 call. He's going to be clean shaven.
That's awesome. That's great.
And then Tomrick.com is our website. Also, all this stuff we're doing is on our YouTube channel, which is kind of cool. So if you go to YouTube and look for Tomrick, this will be there later if you tuned in late or you want to watch it again because it was so intriguing.
So fascinating.
Look, Eric's clapping, he wants to know your favorite color.
My favorite color? Blue.
No, green.
No green. No pink.
So that's my Monty Python reference for the day.
Okay.
So, all right. So we're gonna keep this under an hour. You got anything else you want to let people know?
I mean, just keep doing these chats because they're really fun to watch. And
we had people there was somebody checking in from Panama today. There was somebody from Colombia. There was
so
they're
cool.
Becoming global. And what's cool is that I think in 2 weeks we're gonna do our first international edition. I think I have somebody from Melbourne, Australia on the line.
Who?
It's not done yet because we have to negotiate.
I think I might know who it
We have to negotiate who's waking up in the middle of the night.
Oh, right. Somehow I think that may be you, Brian.
I don't know because then we're not live. I want it to be live, but
True.
So we may tweak the time that week, but
but that's cool. Have you who I would love to see on here?
Who?
I'd love to see David Chow. I'd love to see there's a lot of Canadian chocolatiers that I really am interested in.
And that would count international edition.
It would.
That's a whole other country.
Beta 5 Chocolate. I love their Instagram. They've got some cool stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. David Chow though. He
Do you know David? Because I don't actually know him.
I have done one kind of thing like this for Ecole Chocolat. I did one thing with him, and we've kind of just been DMing each other every once in a while and chit-chatting. Oh, okay. I see that. Yeah.
Cool. And then somebody's asking for us to do it earlier so we can watch in Europe. But then it gets squirrely with the guys on the West Coast. And Kate and I had this whole what time zone today thing. So.
Right. Chocolate Lab. Dallas of Chocolate Lab. Chocolate Lab would be good too. You should get those guys.
Cool. All right. So you be safe. Good luck planning the wedding. I'll look for the invitation one of these days.
Yeah,
I'll just send chocolate. I'll send it from you. I'll go online. I'll order a big box of chocolate and ship it to you.
Congratulations on your nuptials. Here's your own
good luck
chocolate.
with that. Yeah. And but you know how to reach us. If there's anything we can do for you, don't hesitate. Okay.
All right. Well, you guys have a great day.
Peace. Thanks, Kate.
Bye.
Bye.